can hear. I'm not quite sure if I can answer any questions you have, but I will try to answer most all every questions. Welcome, of course, all to you to this webinar about replacing of existing wind turbines and repowering, so-called, and also used wind turbines. I would like to discuss with you. My name is Walter Hulsers. I'm working and owner of Econ International, I'm one of the owners. My company provides consultancy services on energy-related topics. For today, I would like to give you a presentation of work we have done with Leonardo Energy about used wind turbines and about replacing older wind turbines with new ones. The question of this, why we have done this study, was based on, well, there was a couple of months ago, there was a topic on the Leonardo Energy site which introduced or told something about the high number of used wind turbines, and we saw that a lot of visitors came to that site and thought, well, maybe they need some additional information. The report we have written is based on information as far as we could get from the market in the year 2007, and the report is published in April 2008 on the Leonardo Energy site. I hope you all have read it or will try to get it, the report. The report is only provided you information which we have collected, so it's not our own information, it's information we collected on the market and we summarized it and hope for you that's to get it available for you. During today I would like to discuss some items with you. Well, first of all, I would like to discuss the global wind market by the end of 2007. I also would like to discuss with you some repowering examples which have taken place in Europe, and also discuss some items, if we have some spare time or some time, about the used wind turbine market. So I would like to start with the market as it was in 2007. This picture shows the installed capacity for each year during a couple of well, during a decade or something like that. It started in 1979 up to 2007. It's obviously that during the last 3 years there is a tremendous growth of wind turbines during the last couple of years, so it's growing very fast. We almost reached, well, during 2007 we reached more than 20,000 or 20 gigawatts installed capacity that year. If you look at the total capacity within the world, you can also see that there is a tremendous growth. During 2007 we have just a little bit more than 90,000 megawatts or 19 gigawatts, and it's expected that we exceed this year the 100,000 megawatts. So which is a tremendous large growth during the last years. If you could see that we had about 2004 we had about 50,000, and within a couple of years we are growing up to 100,000. The expectations for 2011, I've read, will be about 200,000 megawatts. So within a couple of years we double it from now. So it's a very huge market nowadays, and I think the market will be growing because the oil prices are still high at this moment. If you look at the worldwide, at which locations or countries or regions the wind turbines are placed, this picture clearly shows you some information. It's giving you some information from 2003 up to 2007. It's showing you that some regions, Europe, Asia and North America, have a large part of the total amount of installed capacity in the last year. Especially Asia and North America are growing at this moment fast compared to a couple of years ago, as you can see over there. Europe, well, it's still growing, but not as fast anymore as it used to be in the past. And we also see in this picture that there are some regions, Latin America, Africa and the Middle East and the Pacific, well, where the growing of the wind turbines is not that large as it has in the other countries mentioned before. If you look at the regions the countries where most of the wind turbines are installed at the end of 2007, well, it's clear that Germany, well, has almost 1/4 of the total market, 25% of the total installed capacity. The US, growing very fast, is runner up nowadays, but perhaps now in 2008 I've heard that the US Association of Wind Energy expects to exceed Germany in 2008, or it will be in 2011, 2008 for instance. Spain is also a country which is developing very fast with the wind energy. A couple of years they started, and nowadays they are third party worldwide. And also, perhaps some surprises, India and China, which are also dealing the last couple of years with wind turbines, and they are growing also very fast. And I think that's the main reason why you see in Asia over there that there's a fast growing. It's almost India and China which is doing it, and for the North American market it's almost the US which is growing very fast. Denmark, a country which started very early with the wind turbines, it's also over there, but it's not growing very fast at this moment anymore. And you see also the rest of the world, well, which is a very limited part compared to the countries which are dealing with very high wind turbines nowadays. If you look at the development of the wind turbines during the last couple of years, of the decades I could better say, it's clear that the wind turbines are growing fast. In 1980, it's over there, you can see the size of the wind turbines was very limited. The height of the wind turbine was about 30 meters, and nowadays, if you look at this, it's 130 meters in 2005. Also, the output of the wind turbines has grown very fast, from 30 kilowatts in 1980 up to 2005 it's about 5 megawatts, and I've heard that there are also wind turbines nowadays with 6 megawatts made. Also you see that the annual energy output has also raised very fast, from 35,000 kilowatts for the 1980 30 kilowatt output up to 70 million kilowatt output. That's of course because of the size has grown, but also the efficiency of the wind turbines has also grown, and you can see also that the height is growing. The higher you go, the more wind speed you will get, and also the larger area of wind speed you can collect is larger compared to the ones we have in the 1980s or something like that. Also the wind speed curve is much better. Nowadays at very low speeds the wind turbines are already producing some energy, and also at very high speeds. In the past normally a wind turbine would shut down at very high wind speed. Nowadays they can run still any more than they could in the past. So it's very attractive. You see also that in 2005 the fast growing of the wind turbines, and that's one of the reasons why it could be attractive for shut down your old wind farms with very small turbines, and perhaps place a newer one with bigger energy productions. If you take a look at the history of the electrical of the wind energy, I've taken this picture, which is I think very nice. On the horizontal axis, you will have the number of years when a country started with energy, and on the vertical axis you see the number of megawatts they have placed. Well, the picture is up to 2005, so the latest information is not added, but it gives you some information about it. You can also see in this picture that the US, I think it will be mainly California, started very early with wind turbines in 1980 or something like that, and after a couple of years after they grow, but then for some reason they didn't grow anymore, and about 10 years, and nowadays they are also growing very fast, as we have seen earlier. In Europe Denmark was one of the leading countries. They started about 1985 or something like that. They grow very slowly, and on certain moments they grow very fast, but nowadays they don't grow. Well, the growth is not that big as it used to be. Probably because Denmark is a very small country, and all locations where the wind speed is very good are already occupied, so it's hard to get new locations where you can place new wind turbines projects. Germany started later than Denmark. It started about 1980 with wind turbines, and you can see within 5 years or 4 years perhaps they were the leading country, and they also are now the leading country so far. Up to 2007 they still are, growing very fast during the last years. And also India, which is a very nice country to see. It's over there. They started a little bit, I think almost same as Germany did, and nowadays they grow also very fast. And Spain, also a nice country to see in Europe. It started later than Germany, but it's also growing very fast nowadays. So that's basically the history of electricity. And if we talk about replacing all the wind turbines, I've taken it will be obviously that some countries are very interesting nowadays. It will be Denmark, which is a leading country in Europe with the repowering program, and also Germany. So I've collected some information, some case studies or reports written in those countries, and I would like to present them to you. First of all, I would like to start with Denmark, because Denmark started very early with the wind turbines, as we have seen before. They started in 1980, so nowadays they have a lot of wind turbines which are very small compared to the new ones built nowadays. So they have a lot of turbines which only have about lower than 75 kilowatts. The Danish government recognized that those smaller and older turbines were an obstacle for new projects, for wind projects. They have tried to make a very explicit incentive programs where those older wind turbines would be replaced by newer ones. So they started very early with a repowering program. As a result of that repowering program, nowadays almost 2/3 of the oldest wind turbines have been replaced by newer ones. And if you look, well, how did they do it, the Danish repowering program, which is very successful nowadays. The first program they started in 2001, and the first program was up to 2003. They started with turbines smaller than 100 kilowatt. They started with repowering certificates, and that certificates allowed owners to install 3 times the capacity they have removed. For the group between 100 and 150 kilowatts, it was allowed to have twice the capacity removed. And well, as a result of this program, almost 1,500 turbines with a total amount of 122 megawatts were replaced with, well, let's say just less than 300 new turbines, which having almost more than 300 megawatts. So you can say the difference between the 1,500 and almost the 300 is almost 80% reduction of the number of turbines, while the number of capacity increased from 122 up to 300, more than 300 megawatts. So it's a very good incentive program, and you see also the effort of this program. Based on the results of the first program, they started in 2004 with a second program. That program is still running and going to 2009, so I don't have the results anymore at this moment, because it's still running at this moment. The intention was also to replace another 175 megawatts, and this one is specially made for turbines which have a range lower than 450 kilowatts. And well, as I told you before, this program is still running, but so we don't know the result at the moment, but I suspect that it also will be a very nice result, I think, because the Denmark doesn't have any more land where they can put on new wind turbine or wind farms. second country I would like to discuss with you is Germany. Germany already I mentioned before, the wind power boom started later than Denmark. So the repowering program will also start a little bit later because they don't have the very old wind turbines as they have in Denmark. Still in Germany, they started with a repowering program, but still they have some struggling at this moment. One of the reasons is that local governments have some restriction on the height of the wind turbines. They say, okay, it's allowed to that you make some new replace all the wind turbines with new one, but please note that the height limit is that there is a height limit. So, and as we have seen before, new wind turbines are a little bit higher, so that's a kind of struggle they have nowadays with the repowering program. To encourage the repowering program, the German government, before 2004, they had a very nice feed-in tariff, which was used also for new projects. And since 2004, there's also the payment is a little bit higher, and especially for wind turbines older than 1995. And nowadays, especially since for if you can replace them with a capacity at least 3 times the capacity they had in the older situation. But still there are some troublings, and that's also the wind industry is now argues if the German are doing it right at this moment. There's some discussion about it. Nevertheless, they also have some good experience with repowering, because not in every situation you have the height limitations in Germany. So there are some examples of very good repowering programs, which I will discuss later on. So basically, there's a very nice question: why should you want to have a repowering program? Well, there are several reasons. In countries that started early, old wind turbines were replaced at locations where the wind is very good. So you have older wind turbines at a location where your wind speed is very good. So you know that it's better that at those locations you can better have a new wind turbines, for instance with a multi-megawatt wind turbine, because then you know that your annual energy will be much more compared to the situation when you only have the older wind turbines. So I think that's one of the main reasons why some countries started with it. More wind power from the same area of land. I think that's one of the biggest reasons. The second reason is also when you have the same area of land, and you can also use, as we have seen before in the Danish program, they reduced from 1500 turbines and they went up to almost 300 turbines. So you get a fewer number of turbines when you have a repowering program. Also, you have a higher efficiency, as I told you before. Modern wind turbines make better use of available wind energy, so the cost of production will be lower. Next to that, you can discuss about a better appearance. Modern turbines rotate at much lower speeds, and so visually they are pleasing more than the older, fast rotating turbines. You can discuss about that, but it's just one of the reasons why some countries can start with it. The last one, I think this is very well. When you have a situation where you have nowadays your older wind turbines, you know for a couple of years you know exactly the wind speed at that location and also the wind direction. So it's very easy to calculate when you replace those older wind turbines with newer ones, which amount of energy you can expect. And of course you will only take repowering program make only sense if you have a location where the wind speeds are very good, of course, otherwise you shouldn't do it. But also for the government or local authorities, it's also very nice to encourage a repowering program. There are some effects that are positive for them also. First of all, when you have some wind power at locations and you make it larger, I think the understanding for wind power for the public will be more awareness of it. I think that's one of the basic things for a government. Also, there is some improvement of the quality, perceiving improvement of the quality of the landscape. Later on, I will show you one example of it. Well, you reduce the number of wind turbines, so it's improving a little bit the quality. It's perceiving. It's just not. I cannot say it's a very hard value, but it's a soft value. But later on, I will show you a picture of it. And also, I think nowadays the environmental issue is very nice. Replacement can also be used to achieve your targets for renewable energy or for CO2 reduction. This is an example of a repowering program which is done in Germany. Over here they have replaced 20 old turbines with 200 kilowatts each. So you have a total installed capacity of 4 megawatts, and they produce in 1 year about 10 million kilowatts. The total investment cost was about 6 million euro, and they replaced it with 7 turbines which having about 2 megawatt each turbine. So the total you have 40 megawatts. The total energy amount each year was about 40 million. And of course the investment price is not 60 megawatt but 60 million euro. I'm sorry for the watts, it should be euros of course. You can also see the difference, because here you go from 20 turbines reduced to 7 turbines, which is a reduction of 70%. The installed capacity went from 4 megawatt up to 40 megawatts, so it's an increase of 3.5. And also the energy was raised from 10 million up to 40 million kilowatt hours, and the investment cost also increased of course from 6 million almost to 16 million euro. But still you can imagine it's the production. If you have to invest 60 million euro and you get 40 million kilowatt hours back, or you have to invest 6 million and you get only 10 million kilowatt hours back, you can also imagine that the production cost of this one, the dark blue, will be more efficient than the old situation is. So this is just one example, and it's providing some information about it. You will see that the number of turbines it will reduce, which is very general. The installed capacity will, in most cases, will be higher. The energy will be higher in most cases situations, but also your investment cost will be higher. But still, it can be very attractive to use it, because you get more output, and so your production electricity price can reduce. Also, if we look at the landscape, I've already told you about the quality of the landscape. This is an example in, I think it's Germany also. And over here you see a lot in the landscape, you see a lot of number of wind turbines in this landscape. And after a repowering program, they only had, in this situation, they only had 4 wind turbines. So it's just a little bit of perceiving of the landscape. The quality has improved. It could be improved. You see that the number of wind turbines have reduced. So I think this one is about 20, and now you only have about 4. You also see that the height of the wind turbines has grown compared to this situation. So that's one of the obstacles they now have in some region in Germany, where it's not allowed that the wind turbines have higher heights than they had before. Well, in that case, it doesn't make sense to have a repowering program, because we already saw before that the new wind turbines nowadays have higher heights. Well, perhaps also the noise level will also perhaps could reduce. Over here you have more than about 20 turbines, over here you have only 4, so perhaps your noise level will reduce also. So it's just an impression of what repowering could do for your landscape. If we take a look at some examples also from several projects in Germany, what has been the effect of repowering. I've found 3 several projects. An example in Schleswig-Holstein, which is in the northern part of Germany. Niedersachsen, and also an example from Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, which are three several locations in Germany. Over here you will see that the effects of repowering can be an increase or a decrease. For the situation, the example in Schleswig-Holstein, the number of turbines after the repowering program has reduced almost more than a factor of 2. You can also see that an example of the other also the number of turbines has reduced. Over here it's more than 4-fold, and over here it's almost a 3-fold reduction of the number of turbines. You also see in all situations that the power output has increased. In this situation of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, the situation was almost a factor 3. In this situation it was only, well, let's say between 1.5. In this situation it was more than 3. You also see that the energy output has increased in all situations. For this situation it was almost 4, for this one it was more than 2, and for this situation it was 3. And also you see that the height, well, it's almost a factor 2 of the wind turbines, which has increased, which is all, I think, very identical for each situation. So based on this one, if you have some conclusions you can make, is that in most of the cases when you have a repowering program, the number of turbines will reduce. You will also see that the power output will increase, the height of the turbines will increase, and also the annual energy will increase. I think that's a basic conclusion for a repowering program. In the Netherlands there was a company, grid owner Essent, who has also done some studies about the financial consequences. I couldn't find very much information about that. I've only found one source, and that was the Essent case in the Netherlands, and they came to the conclusion that repowering for several locations they have done provided a cost reduction of between 10 or 30% compared to new solutions, or the greenfield solutions. You could call them also that way. If we are looking at the expectations for a repowering program, I think Germany has, a couple of years ago, Germany has made some expectations about their wind market. And this figure shows on the vertical axis the number of years, and on the vertical axis the installed megawatts for each year. In orange you will see the installed capacity, the onshore in Germany, and you can see that they started in 1990 with a very limited number, and in 2002 they had more than 3,000 megawatts installed. And you can also see that it's, well, since there is no more land anymore, the new projects will reduce, and so they have to do something about their land. They don't have any land anymore, good wind location onshore, so they can go offshore, which is the dark blue situation. This is just a prediction. Recently I read that they started with a pilot project in Germany for an offshore project, which probably is this one. Just an expectation in 2008, of course. And you can also see that there will be a growth in Germany, an expectation of the growth. Well, within a couple of years they expect that the growth, they had about 3,000 over there. Well, it can be seen that within 10 years we expect that it also will similar growth, and after that it will grow, and after that it will, up to 2030, the growth will be, well, not that much as it used to be in this situation over there, but still there will be a large growth compared to the situation we have nowadays. Next to starting on the offshore situation, you also see in yellow the situation when you have a repowering program for the wind turbines onshore. You can see that they already have started some projects, and it's expected that after, well, when you don't have any new land where you can place new projects, it's expected that there will be the wind repowering program will also have well, very high growth, as you can see over there. You can also expect that, of course, in 2030, when you have wind turbines which are 10 or 50 years old, so placed in 2020 or 2050, for instance, you can see that the wind turbines which you have for repowering, which you have used in those years, also have need a repowering program at the end of 2030 or something like that. So the repowering market will continue. That's the expectation they have over here. If you go to the offshore market, it's obviously that it's just starting with the newest turbines nowadays, and you can expect that after a couple of years, it's also necessary to start to start with an offshore repowering program, which is in this situation, which is yellow-blue market. So I think when you have those situations and those expectations, please remember Germany was up to 2007 was one of the leading countries in wind energy. So if every country can make for such a graph for its own, you can expect that the repowering market will grow. Since after a couple of years you don't have any new projects more on land, but also in sea it's very difficult to get new locations after a couple of years. Of course there will be some difference for countries to countries. As mentioned before, Germany started very early. I think if you look at countries like Spain, for instance, they will probably have the same kind of a figure, but only the number of years will go to the left. And if you go to countries like India and China, well, perhaps they will have more land, so perhaps they will take a longer time before they start with an incentive for repowering programs. But still, it's giving you some information about the expectations you can have for repowering. So basically, that's my point so far about the repowering program. And well, as mentioned before, when you repower your some older plants, I think you will have to do something with your older wind turbines. You cannot say, okay, well, these are the older wind turbines and what to do with them. You can transport, well, where can you transport them to? I would say, well, you can transport it to as a spare part to some storage. I think that's done nowadays because there are also some situations where manufacturers of wind turbines do not support anymore older wind turbines. So if you have situations, for instance, you have a wind farm with a couple of let's say 500 kilowatt wind farms, and you know that your manufacturer doesn't give you any spare parts at this moment anymore. Perhaps it makes sense that if you know that someone is going to have a repowering program and you know that they have similar wind turbines, you can ask them from, okay, I want to buy one or two of your wind turbines just for spare in case of a failure and I don't get any equipment anymore from my manufacturer. I'm sure that I have some equipment. Also, you can use the older wind turbines to find a new market. You can put them on a ship and transport them to some exotic countries where perhaps they never heard before of wind energy, and perhaps you can build over there some wind parks, as you can see on this one. So you can create a new market. I think that market is also growing nowadays. It's called the market for used wind turbines. I will now continue with that part of my presentation. So why is that market also interesting? Used wind turbines. Well, I think if you have a repowering market, you will get some older wind turbines. The wind turbines which you get from repowering programs are often can often be used for other countries because the technical lifetime, well, you can run them for a couple of years again. Normally you have about 20 years or longer service lifetime for a wind turbine, but if you look at the repowering program, sometimes they are only 10 years old, so you can use them again, of course. It's also that in many countries, politicians they are focusing also on the repowering program for upscaling the older wind turbines at existing locations. So that's providing in the future you will have some more used wind turbines than you have perhaps nowadays. As a result of the wind powering program, I expect that there will be a new market for used wind turbines, and it's already there. It's a very new market which is growing nowadays very fast. So why is someone interested in using used wind turbines? I think one of the main reasons why you could buy used wind turbines is of course that the investment price will be low compared to new ones. Especially if you look at developing countries where they never heard of, never used any wind energy so far, they will probably have some problems when they buy very new wind turbines nowadays. So it might be very attractive for those countries to buy used wind turbines. You can use them for a couple of years and you can get some experience with it within your country. It's also obviously that if you buy wind turbines which already have a proven technology, that your project duration can be shorter, and also if your project will be shorter, your investors will have a less financial risk, of course. Which is also very good, I think, for countries where the financials are not that good as in the West European countries or America, for instance. Especially nowadays, I think with the financial crisis, costs might be very interesting now, because borrowing money is now very hard. So if you have an used wind turbine, the cost will be lower. Also, an issue is that if you need a smaller size of wind turbines, perhaps because you don't have perhaps because your grid is not strong enough, and you want small sizes of wind turbines, manufacturers don't make them anymore. So perhaps it's very interesting for you to buy at that moment used wind turbines, which have lower megawatts, of course. Especially if you look at nowadays, you will see that the main market for used wind turbines is between 150 up to about 600 kilowatts turbines. You can transport them very easily, so it's a very good market to use. Also a point is that nowadays, if you have multi-megawatt turbines, the maintenance performed on those turbines demands high qualified personnel. If you have an older wind turbine, you also need some qualified personnel, but perhaps not that high enough that you can. It's more easier to maintain your wind turbines, especially when you talk about developing countries. The skills of the people are perhaps not enough for the newer wind turbines, but perhaps you can have an education program where they can easily maintain their own smaller size wind turbines, the older one. And also one of the advantages nowadays, if you buy an older wind turbine park, you can now do an overhaul during the transport, of course. So before you use the turbines, you have to do an overhaul and take some measurements about the wind turbines if it's fulfilled the equipment for a couple of years. Next issue, I think that's also valuable, especially for developing countries, that they also have they can start with their sustainable development in that country, which is very attractive. And also entering, for some countries, you can enter new power markets. If you don't have any information about countries, well, perhaps before you want to export your new wind turbines, it makes sense perhaps to export first of all smaller wind turbines than the used ones, so you know their social and economical environmental in that kind of countries. It's not only advantages, but also it has some disadvantages, of course, when you use existing used wind turbines. It's obviously that it will take some more effort for you to have the right requirements and to select the suitable turbines for your projects, especially when you think if you have, for instance, your used wind turbines were used in countries where the temperature is not that high, and you have in your country where you want to use the used wind turbines, your temperature is higher or different compared to the other one. You could have some problems with your cooling, for instance. You could also have some problems perhaps with your frequency. If your wind turbine is always only for 50 Hz and your grid is 60 Hz, then you could have something to do. Voltage levels should be indicated. Well, not to talk about sand deserts, etc., which also have some influence. So there are some troubles when you buy a used wind turbine. You should take care of it. The life expectation is also perhaps some issue which you should deal with it. Please note that even wind turbines are made for more than 20 years. If you buy a wind turbine, for example, which is 10 years old, it's very hard to get 100 free damage-free wind turbine, I think. So your goal should be to keep the number of problems as low as possible and identify existing damages on time before you install your used wind turbine on a wind farm. You also you can ask some experts about the wind turbine and their findings. But please also do some inspection and, if necessary, take an overhaul on the used wind turbines. And also be aware that one of the problems could be that manufacturers don't make any more those wind turbines. So perhaps you should do something about spare parts. So you should buy more wind turbines, perhaps. If you look, one of the interesting points for buying used wind turbines I mentioned before is perhaps the price. This graph shows you a little bit about the prices. It's a study performed a couple of years ago in Germany. It's a very rough indication of the aging of the wind turbine on the horizontal axis and the price compared to the new price. It's well, you cannot use it for everything because it depends also on how much damage does your wind turbine had in the past, etc. And so it's very hard to say, well, there's one price. Also the market price is also influenced, but it gives you an indication. For instance, if you have a turbine with an age of 10 years old, you can see that the price will be about, let's say, 20 or 25% of the new prices. So it is very attractive at this moment to buy used wind turbines. Please note it's just a rough indication. If someone said why isn't it 30%, perhaps it could be. It's just a rough indication and nothing more than that. If you look at also a study performed in Germany, I think, there were comparing a new location which you can use with new turbines, or you can start with used wind turbines. And at this moment they have chosen that the annual energy output should be similar for both situations, and they started with 3 new wind turbines of 600 kilowatts and compared to 4 used wind turbines from 10 years old with an 500 kilowatt each wind turbine. As you can see over here, you will see that the starting capital of the 3 new wind turbines was higher compared to the starting capital for the 4 used wind turbines. You can also see that most of that was because of the price of the wind turbine was lower compared to over there. And you also see that for the used wind turbine you have to do an overhaul, which is going to cost you more compared to over there. But still, you can see that the prices, the investment price for the starting capital was less. You can also see that the annual cost was a little bit higher for the 4 used wind turbines, which is, well, I think logical, because you over here you only have 3 wind turbines which you should maintain, and over here you have 4. So it could be an explanation why it should be higher, could be a little bit higher. So perhaps after a couple of years it does make sense to have in this situation to use the older wind turbines. That's it, given this presentation. So it's bringing me to my one of my last slides. So are there actually no problems regarding to wind energy? Well, I think there are some problems in which we have to struggle, but still it's very attractive when you talk about the repowering program and also the used wind turbine market. Of course, when you want to try used wind turbines, please note, even if they are not very expensive, you always have to make sure that you have a good location where you place them. Of course, I think that's obviously you need to do an investigation on your wind speed and your wind direction before you place everywhere. Also, please take care when you use older wind turbines. In developing countries, their grids are often weak. So please make sure that you have you're not using a wind turbine, for instance, from 1 megawatt, which you want to replace at a location where the grid is very weak. You will certainly get some problems. In general, you can say that at very small generations, so let's say 150 to 600 kilowatts, are almost suitable for very simple grids. So I think that the target. I already told you before, between 150 and 600 kilowatts is a very nice market for used wind turbines. And also, please note, as I mentioned before, that turbines of sites are no longer being manufactured. Or perhaps it should be possible if you have developing countries, they can also start developing their own wind turbines, perhaps. You never know, and perhaps they can make very small wind turbines. Basically, that was my presentation. I know I could not tell you everything about the repowering and used wind turbines programs. Of course, there's so much more to tell you about, but I just wanted to show you some information we have gathered on several sources, and I would like to present this to you during this presentation. So basically, this was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and in case you have some questions, well, within a couple of days, Hans told you that you will receive this presentation. So based on that, you can see also my email. So if you have some questions, please feel free also after the presentation. If you have questions, please feel free to call me or